All right. Hey, what's going on?
Nothing. Just getting ready for the next week of training. Now that I'm back from ADCC.
Yep, you had a little bit of an injury there.
Yeah, it's all right. It's part of the journey.
Yep, yeah, that's the risk, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we both coached a tournament yesterday as of the time of recording.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I guess we had a lot to talk about, so let's just get right into it.
All right, let's start with the question because there's a lot I want to get into on the tournament, bouncing between the grappling industries and the ADCC that we went to.
Okay.
Was that 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago.
Time's a circle. Okay, sorry, let me. Real professional over here. Don't have my stuff ready. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a general question, and I will preface it with it is not so much about specifically you receiving your black belt, just more so that, at the time when someone gets their black belt, they've probably been grappling for almost a decade, if not more than a decade at that point. So it's from the perspective of a tenured grappler. Mm-hmm. And the question is, what is something that you did not expect when you got your black belt that you then found out about, or something no one prepared you for? And an example of this would be, say, I didn't know when I get my black belt that I instantly become everyone's pressure test round. It's like, like they say, when you get your blue belt, all the upper belts stop going easy on you. Mm-hmm. It's like, when you get your black belt, now everyone goes just ballistic against you to test their A game. So that could be something that you weren't maybe mentally prepared for when you got your black belt. So anything like that. That's a pretty wide scope question, but
I have a couple thoughts at the same time, but one thing for sure is that I had a weird. I was coaching before I was a black belt. Mm-hmm. I ran jiu-jitsu and MMA. Number one, I had a Jeet school, Jiggity Unlimited school when I was a blue belt. Mm-hmm. So I was and I was coaching MMA fighters from purple belt on, as well as cornering in tournaments. At some point, cornering in tournaments while I was still competing.
Yeah, talking about that.
Yeah, very small, on a small scale. It's not like I was competing every weekend or anything like that, but I competed. I was preparing for my own tournaments and also preparing other people, but more so preparing other people. So a lot of the things that usually happen to you when you get your black belt happened to me way earlier.
Interesting.
So I was coaching. So that's going to skew. So I think other black belts listening to this would be like, well, what about, all the stuff that comes with coaching? Coaching is really weird, and there's a lot of stuff that you don't expect when you start coaching. But I dealt with that earlier. I was already a martial arts instructor when I became, and I was leading people in the military. So a lot of those things won't count. And then some things I think about training I got earlier too, because often I'd be the highest belt in a training session. At brown belt, I was the highest belt. But two things. Number one, the reluctance of people to actually roll with you was surprising to me, because as a lower belt, and just in general, and I think anybody who's trained with me will tell you, I usually pick out the hard round.
Yeah.
I'll at least do one difficult round per session.
Yeah.
And often I'm going with the people who are the best at certain categories and then getting in that category with them.
Yeah.
That, and that's my whole training session, because I'm just trying to unless I'm doing something specific, working on something or whatever, that's generally what I'm doing. So as a lower belt, I would often walk over to the black belt and ask them to roll, because I never trained for most of my training, I never trained in an environment where you weren't allowed to ask black belts to train.
That's so foreign to me.
Yeah, it's weird. To me, I need people to just come up and roll with me, because most people avoid me. Most people don't want to roll with me, and I'm not going very hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Word vomit. We roll a lot, so I can attest to that.
Yeah, I'm not trying to beat people up. A lot of times I'm going to say 99% of the time I'm not even trying my best.
Yeah.
I'm just training.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's surprising. And there's some exceptions to what I'm about to say, because sometimes I'll like go to a seminar or I'll go to like a open mat or something like that. Like I'm thinking specifically when I went into Nashville MMA, right? And the black belts there were like happy that I was there. Like, oh, let's roll. You're another black belt. This is awesome. Or like maybe more like, let's have an actual training session instead of have some blue belt think it's his day.
Right.
At a thing like a random training on a weekend and not my actual training.
Yeah.
So shout out to National MMA for having quality black belts there. But the other thing is the reluctance of other black belts to train with me.
Oh, I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, it's really weird. I would rather roll with another black belt,
Sure, yeah.
And I don't even get it, because I don't even understand the ego dynamics of it, because it's like if you get tapped by another black belt, it's another black belt.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah, I guess if you had to put two on the table, would you rather get tapped by a blue belt or get tapped by a fellow black belt?
Exactly.
I think one skews.
Yeah. I mean, there is the fact that I'm way less likely to get submitted by a blue belt than I am a black belt.
Yeah.
But I don't care about that. Like, I don't care about either of those things. If you're a black belt and you get submitted by blue belts every time you roll, something's wrong.
Yeah.
It's either that blue belt needs another belt, like that person needs to be promoted, or if you're getting submitted by all blue belts, you might need to train a little bit more or something. Yeah, something's going on.
Introspective thinking might need to happen.
Yeah, or you're like catastrophically injured in some way and you're just ignoring it. I don't know. But yeah, those are the two. And it all boils down to people's reluctance to train with a black belt.
Yeah, that's not what I would have figured at all. Like, cause I think I have experienced a little bit of that not from per se a belt level, but it's like all the people who compete, we all roll with each other. Like every single class, it's almost like, I don't want to say like a circle, because that then makes it sound like it's cliquey, and I don't think it's that way, but it does seem like there's the group of competitors who like to roll together, and then there's some people who maybe don't compete and aren't necessarily interested in rolling with the competitors. And so I've noticed that a couple of times where it's like I'm looking for a partner, and then you make eye contact with someone and then they look away, and it's like, it's fine, no one has to roll with me. They're never obligated to roll with me, but you start making mental notes of who's looking away, and it's like you can notice a pattern with that. And a few of the other competitors have made that same comment. It's like, oh yeah, no, it's a thing.
Yeah, not to put you guys on blast, but I've heard it the other way too.
Really?
Yeah, competitors don't want to roll with other people.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, maybe you guys are just like over there thinking different, like thinking opposing thoughts to each other.
Well, it's like I don't want to pressure. I really don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to roll with me.
Yeah.
And especially if it's like a female grappler. I've read too many horror stories on Reddit. I absolutely do not want to be that person. Oh yeah. So if I look at someone at the break in between the rounds and they instantly look away, I just take that as my cue of like, okay, that person doesn't want to deal with guard this round. But
that's a better rule. Like, everywhere, you see the priority in the rules of a place, right? If your rule is you can't ask a black belt to roll, then you have a hierarchical structure that has a person at top that has special privileges, and you're working to get those special privileges. That's not in line with my values. However, having a rule like you can't ask a female grappler to roll, you have to wait for them to come to you, is a way better rule. Yeah. It's a way better rule, because that is protecting somebody from, number one, if you're feeling like you have to make that rule, maybe you should start evaluating who's training in your gym, because you're like, why do I feel that I need to make this rule to help people? But then
why do these scenarios keep popping up?
Yeah, exactly. So luckily I haven't had a lot of that sort of thing in my training environment that I know of, like from places I've trained, like because we just do such a good job of weeding people out.
Yeah, I would like to say for the listeners, this is not a rule that we have at our gym. This is purely self-imposed by myself. Like I said, as a early white belt, I spent way too much time on Reddit, reading horror stories about, people's bad experiences at a gym, and that was something a limiting factor I set for myself is I don't ever want to make a female grappler feel uncomfortable in the training room. And someone said was, just don't ask them to roll, let them come to you. And then you avoid the weird, pressuring them into a roll, which I have no interest in doing, obviously.
Yeah, for my gym, my classes, I haven't imposed that rule. I may have to think about it, because I was just coming up with that off the cuff there.
Yeah.
But I haven't imposed that rule, but I do have this rule. If you ask someone to roll and they say no, you can't push it.
Yeah.
And I'll intervene. If someone's like, hey, you want to roll? They'll be like, oh, no, I'm going to roll with this person. And if they're like, oh, come on, what's the problem? I will say, hey, they don't have to roll with you.
Yeah.
Don't push it. What's the point? Don't push it anyway. If someone says no to you,
just take no.
Yeah, it's no. I don't care what it's about.
Yeah.
So.
Now, that being said, there's a female purple belt that I have a really good rapport with. I feel comfortable asking her to roll. I mean, we've been friends for 3.5 years now, so that dynamic is obviously different. But if there's the brand new white belt, hey, just maybe don't be weird about it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, I did not expect to talk about that. I did not expect to talk about that. That wasn't in our scheduled conversation. But did I answer your question? Was that the only?
Yeah, no, the reluctancy or hesitancy to train is not what I thought it was going to be, but I can totally see how that would.
What did you think it was going to be?
I really thought it was going to be something along the lines of the pressure test or the I become everyone's therapist.
Like I said, that's becoming a coach.
Yeah.
That's the part of being a coach that no one prepares you for. That people start telling you about their personal problems.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I don't know if I'm qualified for this. And I often tell people that. Hey, man, I'm just teaching you to choke people. Don't take... asking me financial advice, I don't know if you should. I'm not... I do okay. But, I'm not a finance guy. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Just because someone's good at one thing doesn't mean they're good at everything. They call that... you'll see this on the adverse part. You'll be reading the newspaper. You'll be reading something that's teaching you about something, and you come to something that you know a lot about, and you read the paragraph that they're talking about where you know a lot about it, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. And then you go to the next paragraph and it's something you don't know, and you start listening again. It's column amnesia. You know what I mean? You're if they're saying something that doesn't gel with the thing that you know, and then they start telling you about something else, they might not know that either.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not always true, but you should be skeptical about it. But the adverse is true too. Just because someone's really good at something doesn't mean they're good at everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hate to say this because, a lot of, martial arts is supposed to instill discipline and respect and these core values, but martial arts and being able to fight doesn't make you a good person.
Yeah.
It exacerbates whatever you are.
Well, tying into our previous conversation about, saying no and respecting that.
Exactly.
If, martial arts did its job of instilling those values, that wouldn't be such a prevalent thing.
Exactly. I think martial arts, see, that's why I weed people out.
Yeah.
That's why I've asked multiple people, or I didn't ask them, but what I did is I suggested that they find somewhere else to train. Because, you gotta do that. You have, there's sometimes it's just personalities don't match. But also, at the end of the day, a lot of times I'm teaching someone skills that could kill another person, and if I feel like they might not use it for the best reason, or they're not just, interested or using it for self-defense, I can't teach that person.
A hint of malice.
Yeah, I can't teach that person. We're not going to do it. Right? I don't care if they're the greatest competitor that's ever lived. If I feel like they might hurt somebody on purpose, then I'm not gonna.
You want that weighing on your conscience.
Yeah.
They could be, the next ADCC champion, but if you hear about them hurting up their partner or something,
yeah.
You gave them the skills to do it. How could you live with that?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, there's that. I do feel like most of the people that we train with, or I should say all the people we train with, are good people. So that's good.
Yeah, I don't have any weird vibes with anyone. The few people that have been like, they stay for maybe a week, and then it's...
Yeah, I would say martial arts did instill, like, values and stuff in me, like, personally. But it's things like sparring, number one, helps you check your ego. As long, as long as you aren't just, like, picking easy sparring partners and then trying to win all the time or whatever. And then, if you approach it the right way, then it can instill values in you instantly. Like, helps your ego. It helps you do, like, short-term and long-term goals, like even just ranks. Yeah. Like, belts help you do that. And as a kid, it helped me do that. So there's a lot of things that it instills, but if you... It doesn't make you a good person.
No. It can give you the tools to be a good person.
Right.
But you have to make the conscious effort to use them.
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't pick up those tools.
Yeah. Especially when it's all focused on, like, one singular goal. Like, you're doing martial arts just to, I don't know, like, for example, the opposite is true. Like, when we train, we're training for self-defense, we're training for competition success, we're training for, bettering ourselves, right? The easy one to say is competition success, but I don't want it to sound like if you are a competitor or if you're doing sports, it's bad. But if it's that at all costs.
At the detriment of other people's health.
Exactly. Like, no matter what, we're going to do it. That's a bad thing. Those things are not the same thing. Just being a competitor and doing sports, like, obviously I run a competition team. You can be a really good person. George St. Pierre seems like he's a really good person, right?
Yeah.
Marcelo Garcia is a really good person, also competitively successful. But then, and I won't name any names, but we know people that go to compete and their whole goal is me first above everybody else, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And see, when it's a singular focus like that, those things could be used for evil.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. Well, you want to talk about the tournaments?
I do, yeah.
You want to start with yesterday, or you want to start with ADCC?
Let's start with ADCC because you competed in it.
Okay.
And I think that's good to talk about that. And I think that's probably the main thing we want to talk about today. Anyway,
yeah. Sure.
So I'll let you start.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously, now that the dust has settled a little bit, and I can think about it with a little more of a clear head, I had a lot of fun. I really did. Not that cutting weight is fun, but I do find getting ready for the tournaments, the camp, the prep, I do find that fun. It was a little bit out of town, but not, I wouldn't say it was an inconvenience. So, like, the travel down to the weigh-ins the day before, seeing the venue, and being able to compare it against Worlds was interesting, seeing how they take the same product and scale it down to an Open. That was really interesting to see. Mm-hmm. And then the actual tournament, I felt like was ran incredibly well. Very on time and organized versus some of the other tournaments, which anyone who's ever competed will know that is not the case most of the time. Mm-hmm. And then the matches, while some of them went my way and some of them didn't, I'm really happy I got to have that experience. Yeah. I felt like even though it wasn't all wins for my record, what I gained in experience and maybe looking into myself as a grappler is worth way more than even if I had won the event. So long-term growth, I think that event did a lot for me as a grappler.
I agree. Yeah, first, I'll just pretend like they listen to our podcast. But the people who run ADCC, coming up with this ADCC Open idea where you can go into that rule set and you can compete alongside with people who are going to trials. Like, the people there are going to go to trials. There were, like, trials winners there.
Yeah.
Like, competing with us in Louisville.
Yeah, I literally saw Jacob Couch, 6 feet away from you as I looked over, and then saw Max Hansen. And
yeah, exactly.
Just, all these people. It's like, oh, I've only seen you on my phone before.
Yeah, having, a discussion with Nick Alvin, Chewy, right? Nick Albin, having a small discussion with him, or Heath Padigo, like, it was awesome just to be there as like a jiu-jitsu tourist, you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's pretty cool. But man, it's such a smart move because, you know, like, you have a goal to win trials, right?
Yes.
And that's my goal as well, right? Like, we started that journey years ago. Like, you know, I want to coach somebody who makes it to trials. I had like a 5-year, well, a 6-year plan to get somebody to qualify for trials, and we're on that road right now. You know, we're years in.
Yeah.
Right? And to your first experience being trials of that rule set and that environment and that level of competition would have been rough, right? But to have that open is such a great experience. Like, it's super cool. So good job doing that. Also, yeah, by the way, all the refs there seemed to know what they were talking about, which is awesome.
Yeah, especially compared to some recent wrestling experiences. The standard, like, anything less than ADCC in my mind is not enough in terms of the professionalism of how that event was ran, just from like the weigh-ins table all the way to the reffing. A1. I had not a single complaint about that event.
I agree. Yeah, you know, ADCC is a place, you know, there's a lot of prestige with that organization, right? Like, dude, I've been watching ADCC competitions for, I mean, such a long time. I watched ADCC competitions when they were hard to find, like when you had to like download it from somewhere and sketch it, you know what I mean, to like watch it. And you could only get a couple matches and stuff, or like people had like their home videos and stuff that you could watch.
One step above VHS.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's cool to see where it's gone. But yeah, like ADCC, the Open, they could easily say, come to ADCC, you're lucky we're even like looking at you or like talking to you.
Right, yeah.
But instead, they understand that in a participant sport like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, at an Open where you don't have to qualify, it's not a worlds sort of situation, you're not paying your competitors, right? They're paying you. They're the customer. So your experience at that tournament should be good.
Yeah.
If you are a professional company, you should be catering to, not just in as far as like how well the rules are adhered to, or the quality or the consistency of the judging or reffing, but also just like walking in and having like, you know, acai bowls like to purchase.
Making it easy to compete.
Yeah, exactly. And have like, you know, the merch table and, you know, like reasonably priced merchandise that you can walk away with that are actually of good quality, you know.
They could totally ride the coattails of their name and throw on a horrible event and people would still go to it.
Yeah.
But I felt like they took the opportunity to, you know, use their name, as they should, and still ran a fantastic event, which I don't know if every company would do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, not to name names, but there's a big tournament every year around where we are where it brings in thousands of competitors, and it is still ran like your local tiny tournament with massive delays between the matches for no apparent reason, or the mat looks like it's about, you know, 2 training sessions away from completely shredding into pieces, you know, and I was just overwhelmingly impressed with ADCC. And the point you made about the quality of competitors, I was blown away at how true that was, in a good way. You know, I didn't want to go in there and just deal with, you know, a bunch of tomato cans. Like, that's no fun. So I got to go in there, experience ADCC from the, let's say, logistics side of it. And then it was also a tough tournament, which I was really, once again, as the dust settles, happy that I got to have that experience.
Yeah, and it's also like for ADCC, if you're going to do an Open, from our experience, I will just say, like, if it's about what's your goal in competing, you know? Because there's some people who want to go to a tournament because they just want a gold medal and they want to talk about how they got a gold medal. ADCC Opens is probably not the one for you to just stroll in there barely prepared and hope you get a tournament or hope you get a gold medal because one other guy showed up and you happen to get him. You know what I mean? That's not the tournament for that. You know, there's plenty of those. You can go to those and, you know, have nobody in your weight class and walk away. You know what I mean? And it happens. Not that that's the goal for most people. I think most competitors, especially every competitor that, like kids and adults, want actual competitions when they go to the competition. Like,
yeah,
you paid to roll. But, like...
Yeah, I'd be pretty disappointed if I walked away with a medal for just showing up.
Yeah. That being said, because, you know, it did happen recently, if it happens, take your medal. You showed up. You deserve... I know people are like, oh, participation trophies. Like, take your medal.
Well, that's different. That's different. If you showed up there with the mindset of, I want to compete and I want to try my best and try my jiu-jitsu and we'll see how it shakes out, and no one shows up and you get a gold medal, that's out of your control. That's completely out of your control. But if you, like, purposefully snipe a tournament where you're like, oh, I know no one's going to show up to this one, and that's how you get your gold medal, that's not the right thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, just padding.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's padding.
It's padding. Yeah. But, yeah, like ADCC Opens, if you're going to that, expect some wars, and that's good. And what is your goal in competing? If your goal in competing is to get better overall, or like for you want to win trials, right?
Yeah.
If you just go against tomato cans, as you like to say, you just stack them up and you just go against them over and over again. When you get to trials, it's going to be such a rude awakening. You're like, oh, these people know jiu-jitsu. Uh-oh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to have gone against them already.
Yeah.
So you have that level. Plus, we should probably talk about this, and maybe this is a good transition to it, the level of aggression.
Yes.
So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so that right off the rip, I don't want to say caught me off guard because we had talked about it and I was, you know, mentally expecting it. I don't want to say prepared because obviously it was not what I was exactly expecting, but just from the first, like, there's no bell in jiu-jitsu, but from the first bell, it was apparent that this was 10 times higher than pretty much any tournament I had done before. It was a level of aggression. It was a level of intentionality in movement. It was, I don't know if decision-making is the right term, but it was definitely, it seemed like every single competitor had something that they wanted, and like a move set or a transition, whatever it was, and that's what they were going for. There was no this like, oh, we're going to feel each other out for the first minute, you know, kind of like, you know, from stand-up, you know, trading grips from standing, or like, you know, some loose passing that's not really committal. That's not it at all. It was full throttle as soon as the time started. Mm-hmm. And that is not, like, of all the Nagas and Grappling Industries and Fujis, and I'll even say for my Kumite match, none of those had that level of competition. If
you're not from around here, maybe you're like... you know, someone, and you're like listening to this, Kumite is a like a show that's put on in Cincinnati. What's actually in Newport, but
Cincinnati.
But or I guess it's Covington, not Newport. It's right outside of Newport. But anyway, I digress. It is like one-on-one matches. It's filmed. You can look them up on YouTube. They're awesome.
Like a UFC card.
Yeah.
It starts with kids and goes all the way to the main event, which is generally like fairly well-known grapplers.
Yeah, and they like frequented and commentated by my old training partners, which is pretty cool. You know, I have no affiliation with them at all, except I used to roll with them on Mondays and Fridays. Yeah. But anyway, it's really cool, so you should check it out. Just free plug for them. But yeah, I think the level of aggression was high. You know, I've coached MMA. No, this is easy for me to say. I'm sitting in a chair just yelling instructions, but I've coached MMA, and so to me, the level of aggression was just like, okay, they're just aggressive like in MMA.
Yeah.
You know, MMA, you have to be aggressive. If you're not aggressive, you lose immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've literally watched that. And I know if you haven't seen local MMA, or you're like, you know, you don't train or whatever, and you're just imagining the UFC, and you're like, well, they come out there and they kind of start slow, and whatever, they feel each other out. Amateur MMA is not like that. Some people are like that. They behave like professionals in the amateur fight, but a lot of time it is just such a clash of wills from like bell to bell. It's insane. Like they look like street fights. It's like crazy. And then as they get better and better, it starts to like
get more refined.
Yeah, get more refined. Still, the aggression is still there, but it's like controlled aggression.
Sure.
In early amateur, like debuts and stuff, it's not controlled. It's like unbridled, chaotic aggression. And like,
I'm just thinking about you talking about that from one time where you're just like, they come out an immediate overhand right.
If you mean that one time, you mean every time there's an amateur debut. Yeah, it's either a giant overhand or a like running football tackle. It happens all the time. Like, it's so common.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But like, yeah, ADCC Open had that feel in everything but the advanced matches that I watch. And, I watch like advanced.
Yeah.
I guess it's advanced and expert.
Yeah.
Those looked like there was aggression still.
Oh, for sure.
There was still aggression, but it was controlled aggression, much like you would see in a pro match in MMA. But like at the levels that you and our other competitor who was competing there were going in, it was chaotic.
Yeah, who can get to a leg lock and just jump on it and rip on it first? I felt like that was 90% of my bracket.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I saw a single upper body submission except for 2 rear naked chokes. The rest of it was like, the old Looney Tunes cartoon where they're like 2 people are fighting and it looks like a dust cloud.
Yeah.
It was just like that, and then someone jumping on a leg lock.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, even one of our competitors ended up in it, like deep in a submission, and got slammed, which is illegal in ADCC Opens. Even though it's legal at the World Championship level, it is illegal in the Opens. Got slammed, like, super hard to get out of a submission. And it's like, and I was kind of saying on the way down and preparing for it, expect these people to think this is Worlds.
Yeah.
And they did.
They really did.
Yeah, they really did.
The thing I keep thinking back on is, like, having gone through that now and going into that again, I think I would do significantly better.
Oh, I think so too.
Knowing it.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't say this on the podcast, but I'm going to say it on the podcast to you because maybe it's valuable for people to hear how a coach is talking to a competitor.
Yeah.
But I think that your losses were mental, not.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was like some technical things that we've already talked about, and if you're listening to this, we're not going to tell you what those things are, but we're going to fix them. And there's nothing they're fixed, and there's nothing you can do about it. So if you're looking for an edge, you came to the wrong podcast. You're gonna have to work harder to stay ahead of us. But there were some technical things we've already fixed. But I think it was mental. I think it was like the gas pedal.
Yeah.
You didn't expect that you needed to start with the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, I think I've gotten away with taking advantage of that feeling out period in a lot of my matches where someone's starting slow, and I'm okay with that speed, and just my style, how I've developed thus far, allows me to get a lot of the entrances where they think we're still feeling something out, and that's when I'll bite onto something, and then my chains start going off, and that doesn't play well at ADCC because they're already going 100%. There isn't this like, okay, does this work? It's, I'm going to die for this grip and I'm going all in on it.
Yeah.
Like from there, and that kind of took me off track. So with the first match, which I felt like I was doing pretty well up until that technical mistake, which then cost me the match. Going into the second match, I felt pretty good, and that one went my way. And then going into that third match, I was injured at that point, which I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to give context. That was kind of difficult to get through because I felt like I couldn't rely on that body part as much as I normally would. And so dealing with that and dealing with a guy who, like you said, out of the gate was going 100%, it compounded, and I felt like mentally I was losing ground.
And also, to be fair to you, you were injured in the second match where you won it very quickly too. I mean, you were injured almost immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the match that you said that you had a lot of troubles, but both the matches you had a lot of troubles with, you also had fully locked heel hooks in those matches that rolled out of bounds. Like it's not like you did poorly.
Yeah, if both of I had the first guy in 2 different submissions, and if the first one had hit, that would have been, I went back and checked the time, that one would have been less than a minute, and then the knee bar was like 24 seconds or something, and then that heel hook would also have been under a minute. So I think also losing those submissions probably didn't do me any favors mentally, because I was like, oh, I've got them, and then you don't, and they're already escaping, and mentally you're like, oh crap, what do I do now? You know, not necessarily that, but like, oh, this should have worked. Okay, now I got to catch back up to them.
Yeah. So next time we'll be ready.
Yeah. Well, we reviewed the tape, and we saw the technical things that needed to be fixed, and now I know the intentionality required to perform well at ADCC, and that's not an issue. And so I feel, like I said, I feel really good when we do another Open, or really just my next tournament. Doesn't even have to be ADCC. I know what's required to win at against a high level competitor.
Yeah.
So.
Good stuff. I love it. Yeah. As far as the tournament yesterday goes in coaching, I thought that was great. I mean, like, it was kids. It was all of our kid competitors, and all of them made so much progress. We've been shaking up how we do the kids' classes. Mm-hmm. My kids' classes are not completely geared towards competition. Like, my adult classes aren't either. Like, the main classes that I teach are for self-defense. Like, they're not like the old, like, manual self-defense, but it's like, we talk about strikes, we talk about weapons, things that can happen. We talk about it in different contexts of fighting in different, like, scenarios.
Like, don't do an inverted triangle, because, they could bite you in the groin or punch you in the groin. Like, we place emphasis on stuff like that.
Exactly. And then we have an advanced class, which is, we do a lot of jiu-jitsu versus jiu-jitsu, like, competition stuff in that class. But the kids class is kind of a hybrid of those things. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say I do a lot of sporting things, but I do talk to them about self-defense, and we do scenarios where it's like, well, let's not get picked up and stuff like that. But we've been shaking some things up and I'm not going to say what they are in case anybody's listening that's trying to get an advantage of us in competition. And I'm not gearing them completely towards competition, but as we work up towards the competition, I'm doing a few things that I think is making it feel more natural to compete.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put that.
Yeah, and I think it worked.
Yeah.
I think it worked.
Yeah, it's instilling habits that are going to benefit them no matter the scenario they find themselves in. So
exactly.
Whether that's self-defense or a tournament or just in the training room, it's teaching them these habits that are going to lead to success that they maybe weren't doing before.
Yeah.
I think we saw the fruits of those labors yesterday, massively.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we went up against some people who were, like, the kids went up against people who were really good. Mm-hmm. Like, there's 2 that I can think of right now that they probably just got promoted into the next bracket after they won, because they were the gold medalists of those brackets, and they were good. They were really good. Yeah. Like, nothing we can say about that. And, we want those people. We want to go against those people because they can be like a measuring stick for us.
Absolutely.
That can tell us, like, okay, we need to spend a little bit more time at this level, mm-hmm. and that sort of thing. Because I'm the type of coach that I'm not going to, maybe this is a good opportunity to bring this up, but there's this whole thing of, like, sandbagging mm-hmm. and also promoting too fast, mm-hmm. like attendance-based type thing.
Yeah.
And I do, as you know, performance-based promotions.
Right.
there is a level of performance that I expect. There's a level of knowledge that is the prerequisite.
Right.
And there's a level of performance that skews with things like, like age and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? There's other, because I don't expect like, a 60-year-old blue belt to be tapping out a 20-year-old blue belt every time they roll. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, there's differences, right? Or like, I don't expect a 5'4" blue belt to always submit the 300-pound, 6'7" blue belt.
Yeah.
Like, let's be reasonable about it, right? But there's performance-based and there's sandbagging. And I am not the type of coach that if you are winning in a certain bracket over and over again, I just keep you there so my gym's smooth comp has a bunch of gold medals.
Yeah.
If you win multiple times in a lower skill bracket, I suggest, and you can attest to this, that I'm like, go to the next bracket now.
Yeah. Well, it's like my last white belt tournament, went in, I did very well.
Yeah.
And then it was, as we were leaving the venue, it's like, okay, you're doing your blue belt test on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, didn't even remotely give me a chance to ride out another one. It was like, nope, saw what I need to see, you're out.
Yeah, that's what those lower brackets are for. Those lower brackets are for, if your goal is for your competitor, I'm talking directly to coaches, I don't know if any listen besides me, but if we're talking about sport jiu-jitsu, or any sport where there are skill brackets, right? And this could be amateur to pro MMA. Once they have, if your goal is for them to be successful in the highest category, why are you just making them ride it out in the lower category?
Yeah, it's also an opportunity to get injured. Like, okay, go crush another, blue belt tournament, and then you get a dude that blows your shoulder out.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that just sets you back.
Right. And there's an argument, and we don't do this, but like in the IBJJF world, there's an argument that you just have them compete and keep going to worlds and stuff. But a lot of people get promoted without being the world champion, right? Yeah. But like, if you guys like do the circuit and then you go to worlds and then your blue belt wins worlds, hey, they're a purple belt now.
Yeah, they beat all the blue belts at worlds.
Yeah,
they're the top blue belt.
They're the blue belt world champion. They're a purple belt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so
that's how I see that.
And then next time, take them to the purple belt worlds, and then you get that scenario where you have a champion at blue and purple and brown and black. That you don't have to be a champion to be that belt level, but it's a good indicator if you're the world champion at a blue belt that you're a purple belt.
It's a diagnostic tool.
Yeah. So what I was going to say about that is I'm performance-based. Performance-based promotions usually are accused of sandbagging. That's the thing. Like, you hear a lot, the McDojo life stuff. Let me be clear. The McDojo life stuff should be used to identify when there are culty behaviors that are detrimental to students.
Yeah.
But it has become this thing where it's saying, like, this gym is better than this gym. My gym's better than your gym because you guys do this and that, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, and you hear a lot of, like, trash talk about promotion criteria that is not related to someone's performance. But the adverse of it, the other argument is, that guy's been a blue belt for 5 years. Of course he's submitting everybody. That guy's a sandbagger.
Yeah.
Right? But you got to decouple. You have to decouple that. Maybe that guy's a blue belt for 5 years. Maybe he's not submitting everybody. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? There's a performance part of this, right?
Yeah.
He's been a blue belt for 5 years because he trains once a month.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Tom DeBlas has a black belt that's been training for like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
And he was saying in this post when the guy got promoted that he only trains every single Tuesday or something to that effect, and like has not missed a single Tuesday in those 20 years.
Yeah.
It's once a week, and that's all he can manage with his schedule. You have those people.
Yeah. And yeah, if you're performance based, it's just going to take that long to get there. You know, that's it. And so anyway, that was about sandbagging. Random tangent again. We're very tangential today.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to cover about the tournaments?
I just want to say how impressed I am with the kids. Like, I know we kind of said that already, but just to see, without naming names, there's the one kid that I coached his matches, and then I got to watch the other kids that you coach, and just all of them. We had one of them. It was their first tournament, and she went out and 9-0'd.
Yeah.
It was a boy, wasn't it?
Yeah, she in with all boys.
Yeah, she went to a boys bracket and 9-0'd her first match.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I didn't win my first match. I lost my first 3 or 4 matches, and she just went in there. I was so impressed with her, and then the kid that I coached, just at his age, to be able to take direction and listen to the level that he did, it still blows my mind. I've coached adults, and it's like I'm speaking a different language. I might as well be speaking Greek to them.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to help them out and give them coaching, and it's not connecting. And then I've got this 9-year-old who I'm telling him to elbow escape, and he kind of, in the moment, I'm sure that was, what are you saying to me? Because I could tell by the look on his face, and I made the gesture of, put your elbow in his hip, and he goes, oh, okay. I'm like, now put your knee in his hip. And he goes, oh, okay, and bang, he got his guard back.
Incredible.
That was just one of the few instances of that, and before the matches, I'm telling him all right, go first, and all these things, and just bang, no hesitation, he did it. I mean, he armbarred one of the kids in less than 30 seconds, just because he listened to our little quick game plan.
Yeah.
Beforehand, it blew my mind. And then the other kid had some really tough matches, a lot of really tough matches, and the grit that he showed was just awesome. So I'm just super proud of all the kids that competed.
I am too. It was something that brought up, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if this is true, but I remember reading somewhere when I first started coaching that males and females have different adrenaline outputs. Males get a lot of adrenaline up front.
Okay.
A huge spike of adrenaline.
Okay. When
faced with risk or combat or whatever. So they spike because for us as men, evolutionarily, this is the maybe this is bro science. I don't remember my source, so I usually don't listen to bro science, so I probably had a good source, but I don't know if it's true. But anyway, it's an advantage to a man to have a spike so they can fight right away.
Yeah.
And you only need to do it for a little bit, because fights actually only last pretty short amount of time. And women or girls, their adrenaline spikes and just steadily rises over time.
So
right?
It's a gradual increase.
Yeah, and they say with couples, when they argue with each other, that's why a man and a woman start arguing with each other, and then the man usually comes back oh, I don't know why I was so mad, but the woman in the argument is no, we're still fighting. You're still wrong and I'm still right. And it takes a little bit longer for them to start to resolve their adrenaline, and sometimes they just ignore the adrenaline and it resolves right away. But that's why that happens. There's a lot of resistance from the man at first, and it tapers off while the woman's resistance builds.
Yeah,
over time.
That's interesting.
And I thought it was interesting that the girl that you were talking about was in the all-boy tournament. She wins her first one it was a piece of cake. She just went out there and did jiu-jitsu, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then the second one...
Her passing. I just remember her doing the hand placement for... I think she was doing a Torianda pass.
Yeah.
Man, how cool is that?
I was look, she's doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah, but then the second match, she got nervous.
Yeah.
The second match, she's ooh, my stomach hurts. I don't know. Should I do this? And I was oh, that's interesting. You weren't nervous at first for the first match and just dominated. Second match, she was nervous.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting confirmation of the bro science I was just referencing. But yeah, it was super interesting. In her third match, she almost won. She lost by a close decision.
Yeah.
The kid almost got past her. I mean, it's not something I would argue with. I wouldn't say it was a bad decision. If I was the ref, I probably would have made that decision, because he opened her guard and almost passed at the end, but most of it was in guard.
Yeah, I felt like that was obviously not the one we won, but I felt like it was a fair decision. I don't think anyone got robbed.
No, she didn't get robbed. It could have gone either way, because they could have said, well, she got a takedown, right?
Yeah.
And he had a sweep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you could just evaluate, he had a sweep because she leaned too far and he just tipped her over, and she got a takedown because she actively got into it. There's arguments that you can make that she won and he didn't. But I just think judging it on almost passing the guard and a sweep versus takedown, but she couldn't get her sweep going.
Yeah, I think I saw it from the if you remove the points aspect of it, because obviously they did neutralize each other, but the takedown and the sweep, I think if you want to talk about like who's doing the most, kind of neutralize each other. Like you took me down, but then I got on top. The standing up, breaking the guard, that's the most action. He then swings the pendulum back in his favor, which, like I said, no one got robbed. I understand it.
Also, she had him in her guard, and as we know, judges' decisions almost always favor the person on top.
Yeah.
Like, almost always, unless you were spamming submissions.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. It's just, from the perception of a judge and a casual viewer, the person on top is winning.
Yeah. Like the point you made about if you're not spamming subs, it just looks like you're holding them there. Mm-hmm. You know, even if you're fighting for grips and like you're trying to set something up, it just looks like you're holding. It's a bit like close guard for context. It just looks like you're holding the person there and you're not doing much. Versus like if you're going triangle, wrong side triangle, omoplata, back to get out your close guard. Okay, now you're doing arm bars like that. That looks very aggressive from the guard person, but
yeah.
Otherwise, it's just you're holding them there.
Yeah, there is another topic that I wanted to bring up before we end.
Sure.
Because we're coming up towards the end. But I will say, I'm going to be on the FMA Discussions, which is a Filipino martial arts podcast with my friend Dean Franco, who's another JKD Unlimited instructor.
Cool.
And with how slow it takes me to edit these podcasts, that it'll probably come out before. That one's going to be live, so it'll probably come out before this one. But if you came here from the FMA Discussions and you were like, dude, why did you not talk about Filipino martial arts? You talked about jiu-jitsu the whole time. Sorry, that's just this episode. I'll talk about other martial arts in the future. Keaton primarily does jiu-jitsu. He does MMA and Kali and stuff too, but he primarily does jiu-jitsu. So these discussions go a lot about jiu-jitsu and MMA. You know, that's like most of our discussions here.
You guys don't want to listen to me talk about striking. It'll make your ears bleed.
But the next thing I'm going to say, I'm also going to talk about it in terms of jiu-jitsu, because I think it's going to elicit the best conversation with my co-host. However, this can be compared to like any martial art, but I have been studying game theory. I do this, I have studied it in the past, but I've been studying it more, and I've been doing kind of an interesting thing. Here's another tip. If you guys use AI, okay, if you use ChatGPT to teach you things, it hallucinates, okay? And what that means is it sometimes thinks things are true that aren't true because it makes connections that aren't accurate, okay? And you can tell when it's hallucinating, and when it does hallucinate, you can just tell it's hallucinating. But that means it's very difficult to have it teach you something and just believe it completely. So when you prompt it, make sure that you ask it to have sources. And then the other thing that you can do, and this is what I've been doing, is you ask it to source and then check its sources. And 2, use the Socratic method, which is it asks you questions and you answer it to come up with the truth. Okay, that was invented by Socrates, and that's why it's called the Socratic method. So game theory and I want you to respond to this, Keaton, of course.
Okay.
But game theory, and these are my thoughts based off of what I read, and then I had the Socratic method to organize the conversation. I used a few principles from game theory to describe jiu-jitsu because I think it's very, very important. I can also make this conversation for MMA and self-defense as well. But jiu-jitsu specifically, and we can even talk about it as sport jiu-jitsu, is a collection of nested games. A match, any fight, is a zero-sum game. Or it is zero-sum, which means one wins, one loses, right?
Yeah. My
good thing is your bad thing, right? That's zero-sum. However, each exchange, sweeps, passes, is a sub-game inside the larger game. You can carve that out however you want. It could literally be like passing is a sub-game,
Yeah.
But, it carves down quite a bit. Like,
it does.
Fractally, we can go down quite a bit. And actually, I can go, talking about fractals, I can go up. A match in jiu-jitsu is zero-sum. Jiu-jitsu as a whole is not zero-sum because we're all doing jiu-jitsu and we're all trying to be good at jiu-jitsu and thus make jiu-jitsu better. Mm-hmm. So someone beating me is not really a zero-sum because jiu-jitsu wins, right? And then it can cascade up the combative arts in general. Like, humans' collective ability to fight increases as we advance, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I was going to say, like, my losses at ADCC made me better.
Right.
You know, even though I lost on scorecards, my progress as a grappler benefited from them.
It's just, you just got to think. You may be, you know, in the valley of despair because you lost a match, you know, or lost a tournament. But if you zoom out, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you zoom out, the goal's still there, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of interesting in that way. But we can also zoom in. So, there's stalemates and sub-games, right? Okay. So let's say close guard. Close guard can be a stalemate. If I'm just holding you, I get you in my guard. Close guard is a position where I wrap my legs around your hips, and maybe I'm holding your posture down, and I don't have an angle. You can't open my guard. We're stalemated, right? So we're now in an equilibrium, right? We've reached an equilibrium. However, if I get dominant grips, I get off to the side. I have double underhooks in close guard. You know, I've arm dragged your arm out to the outside, so I'm almost on your back. That is a mini-max scenario for the bottom player. Mm-hmm. So I have minimized my risk. You can only open my guard, and I've maximized my potential to attack you. Yeah. Same position, but a sub-game. So we're fighting for dominant grips. That's it. We've got to our equilibrium, and now it's whoever gets dominant grips is in the mini-max situation. Minimized risk and maximized attack. Does that make sense so far?
It does, yes.
So here's another thing, and then we can start talking about this at a big on a bigger level. But if I'm trying to pass your guard, and I'm the guy on top, and I shift into half guard, it becomes a non-zero. That scenario is non-zero sum. Mm-hmm. Because you are having a hard time getting off to an angle, you're having a hard time sweeping me, you're having a hard time maybe submitting me, right? But your best potential is actually probably to submit me, right? Yeah. And I'm trying to pass, and I move, and it's really hard to pass. Maybe I open your guard, but your open guard's very good. So I go into half guard. Now my potential to pass you has increased, while your potential to sweep me has increased. Right. But I've also minimized your ability to submit me. Mm-hmm. So that is a non-zero sum exchange. I say, let's go to half guard, and you say, okay. So let's say I'm trying to pass your guard, and you're in close guard, and it's full resistance. You're clamped down. You're holding me as hard as you can, right? But I'm very good at neutralizing your submissions. Yep. Right? Yep. And you're afraid to throw up a submission because you think I'm going to pass your guard right off of it. Yep. Right? Mm-hmm. Because it seems like I'm waiting for you to do that. So, that's... let me make sure that I use the exact right terminology. That is called a Nash equilibrium. That's a standoff where neither side wants to change first because it would worsen their position. Okay?
It's almost trench warfare of jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. So I've taken you into a stalled game. And I offer, in my passing, instead of passing all the way, I allow you to get your half guard back. You want it, and I want it. Yeah. So I can find these areas in periods of high resistance where I can enter into an equilibrium or enter into a scenario where it's non-zero sum. Mm-hmm. You won't fight hard to not get into half guard. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I can think of several instances in rolling where I've been like, oh, thank God they went to half guard. And I'm sure they're thinking, oh, thank God I got to his half guard.
Right. Like, if I'm trying to take your back, you're going to fight so hard to not let me have your back. Yeah. Right? Yes. But, like, there's even other situations where it's not even, like, an advantageous position for the bottom person, but I've fully passed your guard, and I'm about to shove my shoulder in your neck with a crossface in side control, and then you just turn your back because you're like, I think I can escape from turtle better than I can escape from side control. Yeah. Right? Yes. Or, like, get to my feet, taking it out of jiu-jitsu context. They're pinning you on the side. You're like, I need to get back to my feet. So
Yes.
you roll the turtle so you can get all the way back up to your feet, which is like the fetal position on your hands, your elbows and knees, and you're trying to get up. So that is an exchange that is favorable to me. If I'm in side control, I'm letting you turn your back.
Right.
And you need to get out, so you have to go that direction. So there's situations like this. So once you're in that position, it's like, when do I take a gamble, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes a gamble for momentum. And what I came up with, this is my phrase, but in my Socratic thing, the AI I was talking to said, when is it okay to gamble? And I said, when the dice are loaded. Or when the dice is loaded. That's when I gamble.
Yeah.
Which means I don't gamble unless I have an advantage, right? Mm-hmm. And this is like a big thing in game theory, where they talk about where I'm creating advantage, right? Stacking conditions. So I get into half guard. I'm not going to start passing until I have the advantage. That advantage would be I pinned your far shoulder with a crossface.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I'll start passing.
Yeah.
And then up until that point, I'm like pinning my elbow to my side. I'm trying to get my underhook to make sure I have it. You can't get to my back. Mm-hmm. And I'm being defensively responsible on top, get a good base. And then as soon as I can flatten you out, now the passing begins. So I'll stop there. But it's kind of like a lot to it. Maybe this is too technical, but does that make sense?
It does. I like that you actually broke it down into providing context of grips in half guard rather than just saying having the initiative.
Yeah.
Because I think the initiative does a lot, mm-hmm. but if you're not set up for success, even if you have the initiative on a sequence, you can still fail mm-hmm. in that. Something that comes to mind is escaping from mount. Mm-hmm. Like if the person's just chilling on top and you do a massive bridge, well, you had the initiative of the escape sequence, mm-hmm. which should benefit you. But if you haven't done the things like getting your elbows in so you can post on their hips, mm-hmm. if you're trying to go into the legs, mm-hmm. or your arms aren't, in the, I'm trying to remember what that's called, the high position, the safe position.
Yes.
If you're not in safe position, ready to trap an arm after they post, if you haven't set yourself up for success with those necessary prerequisite grips or positioning, initiative's not going to save you there.
Yeah.
So that's fairly deep into recognizing when you're ready to gamble.
Yeah. Exactly. Just for everybody that's listening, the safe position is the position in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the street. Not a lot of people who do Jiu-Jitsu do this, but it's specifically designed to stop striking. You underhook with your hands on the shoulder and bury your face into the armpit so they can't smother you. And it allows you to bring your head up off of the ground so they can't punch it as easily. They have to punch into their own chest, which significantly reduces the impact of the punches. And also puts you in a good position and blocks things like underhooks, like arm triangles. It blocks a great deal of things, and surprisingly keeps you pretty safe from the arm bar from the mount, which is probably the biggest risk.
I was going to say, you're not doing the around the hips, which is just asking to be arm barred. It negates a lot of that danger.
Yeah, it's pretty good position. You don't see people do it a lot, even in MMA. Like, you don't see people do it a lot. They just like kind of bridge and give their back.
I think JDM is one of the few people. I think it was him against Bilal is who I saw do it. I was like, oh wow, he's doing the safe position. But short of him, I can't really think of anyone else.
I think it's a natural thing. Burton Richardson, I don't know if he came up with that or if he learned it from somewhere. I'll have to ask him next time I talk to him. But if you grapple with the intention that they are striking you, I feel like it is the natural progression. Because I know, like, when I first started, it was wrap around the hips to stop them from hitting you, or wrap around. Then it became like locked hands behind the neck, right? But you get armbarred. That's the problem. You get armbarred when you do it. And everybody says it like it's like I got to trade. Hey, either I'm getting punched in the face or I'm getting armbarred. I'd rather try to escape the armbar than get knocked out.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that this way it's like surprisingly stops it. But yeah, like I think it's interesting to me at my level, and maybe this is interesting for people who are just starting, to not think of jiu-jitsu as one thing, or not think of martial arts as one thing. It's actually a series of sub-games. And understanding the nature of the game. Zero-sum and non-zero-sum games. A zero-sum game is I win, you lose. Non-zero-sum games are, like, for example, D&D.
Yeah.
It's cooperative with all of the players. The only person you're playing against is the dungeon master, and a lot of times the dungeon master is just presenting easily conquerable scenarios for you all to have fun.
Yeah.
The goal is fun.
Right.
That's a non-zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Right? Then again, they can play it completely different, and it's the four of you versus him, and he's trying to kill you the whole time. You know.
That's my sister when she's the DM.
Yeah, it's a lot. I played both versions of
No, she does. If
tabletop
Mallory,
role-playing.
you're listening to this, no, you do a fantastic job, and it's a lot of fun.
Yes. Sometimes if the goal is having fun, you just want them to try to kill you. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Make it significantly dangerous enough that you could lose.
Going into a broken castle with 25 orcs and 3 ogres waiting for you was one heck of a surprise, Mallory.
I love that our martial arts podcast has become a D&D podcast. But that's non-zero sum. That is the most fundamentally different type of game that you can have. A game where I'm trying to beat the other person and a game where we are working cooperatively.
Yeah.
Is the most fundamental change in a game that you can have. And what I'm trying to tell you is fighting can be distilled into sub-games that have both inside of it.
Where I really see the value in that is if you have, I mean, I'm sure this would work for a more tenured grappler who maybe just hasn't been exposed to this, but if I've got a brand new white belt who I'm supposed to help teach, I'm going to break it down. It's not just, oh, hey, all jiu-jitsu all at once. It's, we're going to start with a position. And this is what they can do to you. This is what you can do to them. These are your objectives. These are their objectives. We're going to do everything we can to stop their objectives while working towards ours. So if it's half guard, we're not letting them get an underhook. We're not letting them flatten out our far shoulder with a cross face. We're not letting them do all these things, and it's all these little, so you said sub-games, is that the terminology? It's these sub-games.
I came up with that, but...
It's, well, I mean, that's a good way to think about it. You know, if I've got a new person, they're in half guard, and they're like, I have no idea what to do, and they're laying flat on their back, it's like, well, you kind of already let them win one of their games, because you're already flattened out. So you show them what the games are per each position, and what their winning scenario is. And that, like, I think the cluelessness that a lot of new people have, that will start to diminish once they understand what the objectives and games are for each scenario. And obviously that's impossible to teach every scenario, but like if you loosely understand the major positions, you can kind of stitch it together from there.
Right. Yeah, like, if you are a newer person and you come to my classes, you may think, like, how... I'll teach a series from a very specific place, right? Like, we'll just be in closed guard, and I'll just show you a series from closed guard. And you may think, like, well, how did I even get here? What is this, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times I would zoom out and say, hey, here is jiu-jitsu as a whole. Or I'll say, like, here is fighting as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Like, here are the ranges, I'll zoom out the whole thing as an introduction, and then I'll zoom back in. But listen to this part of the podcast. We should probably break this thing out into a short.
I think there's a lot of good little short clips.
Yeah.
A lot of this.
I think we should definitely do it with this one. The reason I zoom in is because if you are going to go where you need to go, it's a long-term game.
Yeah.
Like, we're working for breadth and depth, and what I like to do is to zoom in so you understand every aspect. Because if you do, the trained person versus the untrained person, when we get into a scenario where we're going to play a sub-game, right?
Yeah.
And I've done it with street stuff in mind, like weapons can come out and striking. Against an untrained person, they don't even know they're in a new game. They're still playing the zero-sum game of, I win, you lose. where you're offering a situation and you're doing what I call funneling, right?
Yeah.
And I'm funneling them into an area where my ability to win is much greater than theirs.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because maybe I'm trying to pass your guard and I go into half guard and you're like, okay, good, I'm going to go to half guard and I'll be able to sweep him. I couldn't get any submissions going and I'll be able to stop his passing. But then I get into half guard and you didn't realize that my half guard passing is literally my best thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is the place that I pass the best.
Yeah.
It's of all my game, that's what I do best. Well, I'm winning now.
Yeah.
The dice is loaded. I made an exchange that was going to be favorable to me in the long run.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting because you think about competing, and I think half guard's just the easy one.
Yeah.
For
it's
jiu-jitsu people to conceptualize, but it could. I mean, there's so many scenarios where in a tournament setting, you could think, "Oh, thank God we're here," and you have no clue that is exactly what that person wanted. It could be boiled down to grips, like, oh, thank God I got the underhook. Well, now that dude's going to launch you with some throw off of his overhook.
Yeah. I think, actually, half guard is probably a mid-tier, for me to reference, because I think a lot of people that I say, oh, half guard is mutually beneficial, they'd be like, is it? Is it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think, especially, people who don't have the depth of knowledge of grappling might be like, okay, that the guy on top's winning still,
Yeah.
But the most obvious thing, if you're going to use jiu-jitsu as an example, the most obvious one is pulling guard. It's the most obvious one. It's a natural concession from one person to be on the bottom position and an acquiescence to the person on top.
Yeah.
You get to be on top. You're closer to pinning me than I am to you. Sweeping is harder than passing. Period. I don't care who you are. I will argue this forever.
Come on the podcast. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, put that meme there. Sweeping is harder than passing. Okay, when you're passing, a lot of times you're on your feet. You do most things in life on your feet. When you're sweeping, you're on your back. It's very difficult to do. Some people are really good at sweeping, but in general, for most people, I think passing's easier than sweeping. That being said, I acquiesce to you. I let you go on top, but I'm a guard player.
Yeah.
That's the perfect example, but it's also the most obvious one. Because when they pull guard, you're like, "Ooh, I'm not going in there." You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like opening up a bear trap, and it's like, "Hey, why don't you step in?"
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know about that, dude.
It's also the basis of jiu-jitsu. That's what jiu-jitsu was at the beginning. If you go back, when we start emphasizing the early training halls, that's what it was. It was judo, and it's like, I can't throw these people. They're bigger and stronger than me. What am I going to do? Well, I'll just pull them on top of me and submit them. Mm-hmm. Because that wins just as well as the throw. And then it's like, well, let's get rid of the throw. Maybe that's an artificial win, right? Yeah. But a submission, if I choke you, that's a win. You die.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you survive the throw, but you don't survive getting choked. You die.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So then that's what it is. So that acquiescence, jiu-jitsu is actually built on that acquiescence that I'm talking about. So really this zero-sum, non-zero-sum is kind of a misnomer to what I'm actually talking about, which is acquiescence with advantage.
Yeah.
Am I using too big of words?
Maybe a little bit. I'm following, but yeah. I don't know.
Sorry about that. Acquiescence to advantage, what I mean is I give something up, but I have a secret.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like, I'm going to offer you this gift, but it's not actually a gift.
It's
dynamite. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to let you get really I'm not going to give you 2 points, but I'm going to make it really easy for you to get 2 points, potentially.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to grab your leg and rip it off as soon as you get close to me.
Exactly.
Or I'm going to, as soon as you get close to me, you're getting launched, I'm trying not to cuss, but end over end, and now I'm on top of you.
Yeah. Here's an example that maybe everybody will get if you came from another, you're not a jiu-jitsu person, you came from another martial art and you're listening, and thank you for listening. We'll talk about other martial arts at another time, but if you've seen the movie The Princess Bride,
okay.
The man in black, Wesley, spoiler, he comes up to Fezzik, which is Andre the Giant, and he has a sword, right? Mm-hmm. And Fezzik is hiding, and he has a rock, and that's the biggest advantage, right?
Yeah.
And he steps out with the rock, because he could have just smashed him and killed him right there, but he said, let's put down our weapons and kill each other. Sportsmanlike. It would be sportsmanlike. And Wesley's the famous line, are you saying you put down your rock and I put down my sword and we try to kill each other like civilized people? Right? And Andre the Giant says yes. They put down their weapons. In a hand-to-hand combat situation, a giant beats a regular person. So Fezzik offered a sportsmanlike competition instead of sneaking up on him with a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Wesley bests him, spoiler, with technique. But still, that's a perfect example.
Yeah. It's interesting. The guard pull one, that is funny because it is so obvious.
It's obvious, and it is the basis of jiu-jitsu. Everyone that does jiu-jitsu knows that one because it's the fundamental acquiescence, as I said.
If you want to put it into video game terms, it's what category of class is this person?
Yes.
For D&D, are they a bard, or are they a warlock, are they a knight, or whatever, finals, are they a light, medium, or heavy player, whatever it is. And it's at the start of the match, assuming the person doesn't have cauliflower ear sticking out like radar dishes, you look at the person, you're like, what am I about to deal with?
Right.
And that first indicator, boop, they sit down. You're like, okay, I have at least somewhat of an idea of what I'm about to get into.
Yeah, I know this game.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go into it. But you also don't know the quality of the game that you're about to walk into.
And that's the whole thing. You don't know. And, they think their open guard retention is baller, and then here comes a dude with A1 passing.
Yeah.
And
it's
fun. It's the whole fun of it.
It is. But I think we're done. You got to go to training.
Yeah.
All right.
Thankfully.
Well, hopefully you guys got some out of this. We'll